at Vanguard. I'm Jack Dageford. I'm a senior here. I'm a theology major with an emphasis in youth leadership, and this is my story. So growing up, I grew up in a non-Christian home. I mean, my mom followed, sort of, but my dad was atheist. And that presented a lot of challenges growing up. I mean, I didn't really come to know Jesus until I was about in high school. But my story with Jesus really started when I was about 5. I was in kindergarten, and I had met my current best friend. And just over the years, he kept inviting me to church. And I would go, and I wouldn't really understand exactly what was going on. I kind of had an idea, but not really understanding the specifics or what was really happening. But one year the invitation was to actually go to summer camp one year. So I went. I had met Jesus that week. I had walked in that camp just looking for a good time, just to spend some time with friends and enjoy all of what summer camp was. But I got Jesus with that. I also felt called to ministry, which is insane because I was 14, and I know it's a blessing and a privilege. Not everyone has to feel some sort of calling at a young age. But for me, I just knew. It was kind of like, hey, what do I do from there on out? And crazy enough, also in that week, I had also heard about Vanguard, and here I am, almost 9 years later, doing My Story Matters for you guys. I'm just so blessed to be able to just be here. So just quick shout out to our SFD team. So good. But I went through high school just trying to figure out what this Jesus thing looks like. And made a lot of mistakes. But I also kept following Jesus, kept looking after Jesus. Because I knew Jesus was and is always enough. And so, in my sophomore year of high school, on March 2nd, 2015, my dad actually passed away. That was the worst news I had personally ever received. It was a lot for me to handle at 16 years of age. But there's one thing I did know. I had seen other people walk away from their faith because of loss. And I don't want to dismiss the loss that anyone may be feeling. But I had seen other people walk away from faith, walk away from Jesus because doubts over whether or not God is good because, my parent is now gone. I had seen that, but I didn't think Jesus was like that. I didn't think Jesus was bad or evil or God was bad or evil because I had lost my dad. So I chose to cling to Jesus instead. I knew that as long as I had Jesus, that was enough. And he still is. And that really carried me in that season. I remember right after I had found out, my life group leader called me. Immediately, right away. Checked in on me, made sure I was okay. And I have never forgotten how important being in a life group was. Having a leader that continually poured into me no matter what had happened, whether I was behaving or misbehaving, which was usually the second one. He had to put up with a lot. But through all of that, I learned what it meant to be a life group leader, to be a good youth leader. I love students. Just having that leader that poured into me continuously made me want to do that for other people too. For as long as I've loved Jesus, I've also loved just being students. I want to make an impact, and I want to lead students to Jesus. Nothing makes me happier than seeing a student accept Christ or a student rededicate to Christ. I love students. I've learned so much about what it means to follow Jesus and to do that well from my leaders. I've always looked to my leaders because there's so much wisdom in listening to those who are further along than you. I cannot, and I have never really assumed that I have it all together or I know better than people who are older because, I know all the new stuff. You don't. I know. I think there's wisdom in listening to leadership. So I had really, spent a lot of my high school years just learning about what this Jesus thing is from my leaders. Once I graduated high school, I went through a pretty rough season, honestly. I think especially just not having a car, not really driving at the time. I had a loss in community, and that was really hard. And without that community at the time, I definitely made some poor choices, and I really struggled with loneliness in that time. To be honest, I've struggled with loneliness or feeling unwanted for a lot of my life, and I didn't really. I had felt that from people and certain groups of people, but there was always something in me that wanted to search for what felt like home, even though I was already home. I have Jesus, and I have some fantastic people in my life, and I've always had fantastic people in my life. But no matter what, I'd always struggled with feeling wanted or unwanted, seen, unseen. And the funny thing is, when I had stopped looking for that, that's when I found that. In my freshman year of college, I had found a wonderful group of people who loved Jesus and were willing to put up with my very bad jokes. If you know me, I mean, I'm the funniest person, and just having that solid community changed everything for me. I can't imagine how I would have gotten through college, gotten through all the hard things that I've had to walk through without them. I'm just so grateful for community and all that it's brought. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but what I really gained in that season was a firm foundation that I hadn't necessarily had before. Because look, I still wasn't driving at the time. I didn't get my license till I was about 19 years old. And I just had a solid group who were willing to, meet multiple times a week and just spend time together and grow together in community. But we're also very passionate about Christ. When I had groups of friends that didn't share my passion for Christ, I often felt like I didn't necessarily mesh or fit as well. But also the influence. I was being influenced poorly by my friends who didn't necessarily know Christ. And to be honest, some of my friends who did claim to know Jesus or did know Jesus also influenced me poorly at times. But ever since I gained that community in Jesus that were committed to just loving me and loving Jesus and loving each other, that has just given me so much that would take a couple hours to just talk about all of that all together, but I'll just keep it short and we'll go with 50 minutes. I'm kidding. But I had really gained a lot from that. And I remember, so I went through first couple years at community college. I went to San Diego Canyon College over in Orange. And eventually, after a couple years, it was time to transfer. So I had still felt led to Vanguard. I still, had Vanguard as an option. But I also knew I couldn't necessarily put all my eggs in one basket. So I was like, okay, I'll apply to a couple other schools. I really ended up applying to one other, just because I just didn't want to just apply to one school just in case. And I got accepted to that school. I got accepted to Vanguard. I didn't find out Vanguard accepted me until after the first one did. But the thing is, they offered me quite a bit of money for a scholarship, and I really considered it. I really did. Sometimes I think God might do these things, or we might think God's doing something that might turn our head. So I thought about it, considered it, and then I toured Vanguard. And I knew this is where I'm supposed to be. And even now in retrospect, after turning down what was a lot of money, I'm here because I was called to be here. God specifically had planned for me to be here at Vanguard, and I am so grateful that I listened. Because who cares about student debt if you're where God calls you, you know? I could have graduated college with little to no student debt, or so it seems, but I knew God wanted me here, so it's worth it. Every second, every day, it is worth it here, because I just know I have community here that cares about me, cares about my story, and I'm really grateful for that too. So I turned down that school, came to Vanguard, and instantly it felt like home. I remember just the first couple of times I even came to chapel, back where the old calf used to be, before the student center was even here. So much time has flown since I got here. And it's only been 2 years, and the campus is so different from when I got here. But I just remember just getting here and just saying, man, people here love Jesus. I go to a school where people love Jesus and talk about Jesus openly. I don't have to worry about being the only Christian in the friend group. I just instantly felt like I was home. I'm exactly where I need to be. And that, honestly, just that sense just gave me everything. I didn't get that from the other school, but I got it from Vanguard. There's just so much intentionality and love and care I see here. Our SFD team is incredible. Honestly, I already plugged them before. But they have just really helped me feel so loved and cared for. And I didn't think I could get that from a school. I mean, I'd grown up in public schools, and none of them were really, like, openly Christian or anything like that. It was really just, hey, get your stuff done. We're here for you. But just the incredible amount of love and care that I've received from Vanguard has given me a sense of belonging that I didn't think I could get at school. And I'm really grateful for that. And then 2 months into my first semester, COVID hit, and we were all forced online. And that was, honestly, that's just wild. I can't imagine, like, sometimes I just think about how, like, hey, man, we're going through, like, one of the most insane periods of history, and I'm just here, like, involved and just alive at the same time as it. But that really presented a lot of challenges. I mean, we're instantly all thrown into isolation, and that was rough. But yeah, so we went into quarantine from 2 months on into my first semester. So I was pretty much like, God, I'm exactly here where you want me. But I want to be at Vanguard. I want this pandemic to be done. I thought it'd be like 3-4 months, but it obviously not the case. And then we're here to last semester, fall 2021, and we're finally back. And I was so excited. And I just knew going into the semester, like, this was going to be huge. This was going to be big. This was going to be a really good thing. And so, just going into the semester, I just wanted to give everything 100%. I want to be all in on relationships. I want to be all in on Vanguard. Listen, we're only here for as long as we are here. So let's make the most of this and just pour into relationships. That was a lot of my mindset. That really is my mindset still. But really just deciding to be 100% in and 100% in pouring onto this campus. I decided I would go to pretty much everything. Because again, it's my almost 2 years into Vanguard, and it's only my 3rd month on campus. Like, that's just crazy. And so I do that. I go to the chapels. I'm hanging out. Just really just trying to make the most of the friendships that I had sort of made before COVID hit, and now where we are at now, just really just pouring into relationship. I'm all about relationship. I love people. I love friends. So if you ever see me, please come and say hi. I would love to chat and get to know you. But as the semester went on, I had recently just, like, left my job, and that was because the Lord had called me out of my place of work, and as hard of a decision that was, there was really a lot of personal growth in that. God didn't want me to trust in my finances, but trust in him. And I was beginning to trust a little too much in my money, and the stability that comes from that. And so just in the process of doing that and leaving my job, I had a lot more free time. So what would I do? Hang out with people here. Hang out with people at school, pour into relationships. Go to Shine, whereas I previously probably couldn't have. Go to, all sorts of things. But again, it's the relationships that benefited most in that season. And as I just continued to pour into relationships, continued to hang out with people and get to know them, things just changed. I knew that I was going to buy into what was happening on campus. I knew that I was going to grow spiritually as a result of that. And especially in our chapels, I mean, I didn't want to have a heart posture of like, okay, I'm just going to get through chapel, I'm going to scan in, sit down, and zone out for 50 minutes. I wanted to be all in on worship, be all in on listening to our speakers who are just so great at just communicating the love of Jesus to us. And lost my train of thought. You could just cut that out. And so I was available and I was willing to show up and really just buy into what we're offering. Because I knew then and I know now that every chapel opportunity, every opportunity that I have to listen from any of my professors is something that God wants me to hear. I didn't want to miss it. And I know that sometimes I can miss it. But I really didn't want to miss what God had for me that last semester. And I don't want to miss what he has for me this semester. And eventually we get into November, and it's Revive Week at Vanguard. And I knew I was already tired from in a couple of events that I was at the week before. But as soon as I found out we were doing Revive Week, I was hyped. I mean, I knew that it was going to be good, whatever was going on. And I mean, the first night chapel, when Pastor Benny Perez was here, God really did something incredible in my life and really just transformed my heart and transformed me spiritually. And now, just talking about it, faith is so different for me now. I mean, I can't imagine what walking with Jesus was like before that night. And now there's just so much new life, so much more encounter with the Holy Spirit, and it just growing in my calling that happened. And it's still happening. But all of that happened because I was there, I was available, and I was open, and I had said yes. There's so much there for us in chapel. There was so much there for me in chapel. But the thing is, I had only gotten out what I did because I had been open and I had said yes. And I was willing to listen to God and be like, hey, God, here's what you have for me. Or what is it that you have for me? I want to know. I want what you have for me. So I'm here, God. I'm willing. I'm open. I'm ready. Just come and do what you do. And he showed up. And that's just simply incredible. Thank you.